Hello, welcome back to Diary of a Creator. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm Victoria, the soul-led career coach, and this is the space for ambitious, freedom-seeking souls who refuse to settle for the ordinary. So if you're feeling stuck in a life or career that no longer fits, you're questioning your path and you're craving more freedom, more fulfillment, and more alignment, then you are in the right place. If my content resonates, I would love it if you could like, share, and subscribe, helping me to reach more souls with this message. Okay, so this week I am tackling a rather big topic. I might even split this into two videos depending on how it goes and how much wants to come out, because this has been a very raw part of my journey into the soul-led path. And it's really the question of, what does money actually have to do with finding your soul-led path? The truth is, and it wasn't the truth that I had understood, it has everything to do with it in multiple different facets. First one being that money is one of, if not the biggest block to people actually stepping into a soul-led path. And it is one of the factors that will stop people even looking or feeling that it's a possibility. It can stop people dead in their tracks when they've started and they come out of the security of a corporate salary and then dive in, only to realize that it will create a lot of instability. And the reason why it's so important is because most humans on this planet, if not all, have a dysfunctional belief around money. Unless you've actually worked on your money beliefs, you will be running a dysfunctional belief. And that can be from the spectrum of greed driven, ones who have a lot of money but never feel like they've got enough, the almost the corporate laddering of more, right down into poverty driven, so total lack of money. And if you've heard of poverty mindset, this is a real thing, because our environment plays a massive role in how we perceive money and how we grew up with it. But it doesn't actually really matter where you are on the spectrum of this, because the truth is that money is just an energy and a resource. However, the dysfunction comes in because whether you sit on the poverty mindset or you sit in the greed, the key difference here is that we are tying money into our value as a human being, into our worth. And herein lies the issue. And herein lies why this is so contentious as well. There's a lot of disagreement about even talking about money connected into soul, which again is another distortion in and of itself, because the reality is that money, just as a truth, is a survival resource on this planet. That's just the baseline of it. But the dysfunction comes in because we actually are tying our worth and our value as a person into money. This creates the energy that we have around it. You can clearly see that there are massive issues across society. We have poverty in some regions and we have mass greed in others. There's really like the extremities playing out, but the extremities are speaking to the same thing, that there is a dysfunction and a tie to that, whether your tie is into the greed and it's this constant cycle of proving your worth through what you gain and how much you can have, and power plays up too. If it's the poverty, it's this lack mentality. And now everyone's money belief or tie towards it is going to be very different, because we all run slightly different belief sets. As I said, poverty mindset to greed mindset, you could be anywhere on this spectrum. But what is important to know is, where is the worth attachment and what have you learned about it? Because these are the things that are going to block you from even pursuing a soul-led path. Or like me, you might almost think that you have no money blocks, because I was never really confronted with it until I came out of the systems. And boy, did it crush on me like a ton of bricks. And I nearly turned back around. This is the thing, it can get you at many different times. It can stop you from even pursuing a new path, or it can stop you from continuing with a new path, because whether you know it or not, this belief is blocking you from even making it work. It's a big one. And unfortunately, as we stand, money is a commodity that we need to survive and to live. And you will probably find, like me, money's not even the value. The value for me is freedom. That's what I care about. To have freedom, The reality is that money is there. This is where another dysfunction comes in. People can think that money is not important. By and large, it's literally a resource, but it is a resource that for most of our experiences in human life, we need. It's a facilitator. And so we can't ignore it. And I did ignore it. I didn't think that I had blocks, and I'm going to go into my journey. But I did. I'm still working through them, but I have started to see the most incredible magic coupled with the most incredible discomfort of my life. But the reality is, we live in a very, I'm not going to go too deep into my beliefs here, but there are really two commodities that are used against us to keep us constrained and controlled in the degree of not coming into your full awareness, your full level of potential, and your true understanding of your depth of consciousness, who you actually truly really are, and what you are here for and what you're here to create. There's two commodities that are played against us to keep us from doing that. If you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when we're talking about a soul-led type of career, we're moving up into self-actualization. It's like, who am I? What am I here for? What are my innate gifts? And using that to bring it back into service and create your career around that. But there's the two commodities. The first one is time, and the second one is money. It's interesting that we trade time for money, but there's many other dynamics at play, because if you take away people's time, there's a lack of energy for the self-actualization journey itself. And the way that this is done is through work and the corporate 9 to 5 and all of these things that will really strain our time, not only the physical time we use, but it will also put us into a burnout, because it's just constant. The more you take up people's time and burn out their energy, the less they're going to want to reflect on things like, who am I? What am I here for? What is my soul? It's really the evolution, and the time will take it away. There's so many distractions that have been placed in front of us. The second one is money, which again tied into a 9 to 5. And the reality is, as humans, we take the easy path by default. That is what our ego wants. It wants the easy path. It wants the safe path. If you give people a safe way to earn money that's consistent, even though it's taking their time and it's keeping them away from discovery, we will do it, which is why we are where we are. And I'm not saying that I didn't do it, because I did. And I also, having come out the back end of it, was like, oh, I need to go back, because there are benefits to it. But in order to understand the benefit, you need to just be aware that by our default, we will take the easy option. We will take the convenient option. We will take the secure option. We will take the safe option. When we're not, so we're actually actively pursuing growth and discovery and expansion, that is not our default. We are really almost pushing against the grain of our egoic survival mind. My journey with money. Okay, so honestly, as I've been saying in previous videos, I'm a leaper. I leap and then I think after. And that's exactly how I did definitely do some practicalities of moving into the journey. But when I left corporate, left Sydney, moved to Bali, it's fair to say that I was not expecting the heaviness of the money fear that came up. And I'm aware now that I'm past the bulk of the most heaviest, insane amount of crippling fear I have ever experienced in my life. I had to move through that, probably because I can now speak to it and I am moving out the back end and the magic is occurring. And you will notice this with the soul-led path, is you have to move through some of this stuff. I wasn't aware that I was going to be moving through it. If I had known I was going to be moving through it, I may have taken a slightly more cautious approach. When I work with people moving through this, I am probably going to advise them to take a slightly more practical approach, because your nervous system is going to freak out. When we're talking about money, we are going into survival here. It's right down to the root. Even as an energetic stance, it is the root. It is the root of your physical survival on this planet. Now, for me, I had the corporate salary pretty much all of my working life. To my knowledge, no real money blocks. I was on a high salary by the end. Did I have reserves of money? Was I good at saving? Not particularly. I was able to save to do my backpacking hiatuses, and then I'd spend all the money and then I'd have none. And that was the cycle that I would go through. So I've never been a person that's like, I need to save up for a house, but I have an awareness of being able to save a shitload of money, but then going and spending it. So when you kind of view that, there's already some dysfunctions there. Also, I wasn't very good at pushing my worth and getting higher salaries until the very end of my career, where I was like, no, I'm going to do that now. So it's still there, but I was never struggling. I never had to worry. It was just always going to come through, whether it was fully to my value or not. It wasn't even in my thought process. It wasn't an energy that I spent time on, which actually is a key point. Fast forward to jumping out of corporate and leaving the stable salary. I jumped at a point where I felt there was momentum in the business, and there was, but I hadn't factored that momentum was largely coming from the location I was in. So I jumped and I did my typical fly off the cliff and hope that I get caught. And I wasn't caught as much as I thought. Now, when I go back in hindsight, there was absolute magic and support that came through, but it wasn't enough. And I hit some very low financial points, and my mindset was shocking. Now, my default is to have pity parties and blame the universe. And for me, when I wasn't getting any money at some points, I was like, but this is my purpose. Why aren't you making it easier for me? All of these very victimy things, and very much a lack of power and being in a victim state where I should just receive money, which actually, fast forwarding to now, it kind of does happen that way. But I was almost like, you need to give it to me. It's like this demanding little petulant child was exactly what I was for a portion of last year. What this made me have to do is really confront this part, because when you feed into this, we're talking about a really low level vibration here with money and fear, because it's a scarcity. It's like there's not enough. I don't know how to get it. I don't know where to get it. That is a key dynamic. If you are used to getting salary from a corporate system, which feels very secure, however, it's a false sense of security. It's really a form of control. And you step out of that, there's almost a confusion or lack of ability to see how. This played out a lot for me too. And I can trace this back into my dad, which is where I've picked up most of my money beliefs. And this will be the same for you too. It comes from your caregivers and what you experience, which is why people that grow up in poverty, like 4 times out of 5, will stay in poverty. It's a really strong societal and family conditioned belief that will run through there. So there came a point where I genuinely thought I wasn't going to crack it and I was going to go back to corporate. I tricked myself into believing that it was other things, but really it was like, how am I going to do this? There was just a total lack of trust and belief. It really derailed me for quite some time. It's interesting because a couple of months before that, I would have not even, I would be like, I don't have money blocks. What are you talking about? I know that everyone that's taken a leap, they face this. It comes up for everybody. It's because we tie the worth and the value into it and what we've learned about it. But you add into that this is one of the biggest control mechanisms on the planet, and you are trying to forge a new path. Naturally, you're going to come up against this. And as much as I didn't want to work on it because I've never been a money is important person, money only became important when I didn't have any. And this is the thing. And the reason why this is so important is, one, at the beginnings, it's going to stop people from even trying. But two, when you enter into any form of survival fear, the energy around that is enough to pull you out of your ability to create, to be in your intuition, to trust, all of these things. It's a very heavy energy. And that is what it did. But I'd say that's probably been my lowest fear on this journey. Yeah, it has, because it really kind of consumes everything. It's just, I don't even know how to describe it other than just torture. We'll call it that. My own form of torture, because what made it so bad was, one, I didn't see it coming. Two, I didn't know how to work with it, and I just really got stuck. And which is why I want to talk into it, and maybe I will do more videos, because I've picked up a lot of insights from this journey. And I think for me, the biggest challenge that I've had around this area is marrying up the two worlds. I'd call it two worlds, where if you have come to this video because you're already in this being like, what do I do? You're probably going to hear a lot of talk around the energetics and the beliefs and receivership and opening up to trust and all of these things. And I fundamentally embody that now, not fully. Did I when I was crashing? Absolutely not. I thought that was all a load of absolute shit. I was like, yeah, but I need to feed myself. Yeah, but I need this. That was my language because I was a victim. Maybe you'll relate to this. And then we have the realities of the physical world that we live in. We have needs that we need to meet, and that's just the reality of it. I struggled for a very long time marrying it up of my ego wanting to try and solve it in the ways that it knew how, but also knowing the ways that it knew how were already limited because I'm coming from a very corporate ingrained way of thinking. It's like work hard, get money, work hard, get money. It doesn't necessarily work that way with the soul led path, which was the biggest slap in the face that I've got of like, okay, so the more I hustle, it doesn't mean I'm going to get more money. Also, when you really think about corporate, it's kind of the same thing too. But by and large, you can somewhat hustle your way into higher money. You cannot when you are following your heart and your soul. So it doesn't work. And then you have the energetics piece, which requires the healing, the deep diving of what's actually going on. It also requires generating a lot of trust and safety in your body. And there's a lot of work around that. And that's really the work that I've been doing. And sometimes I do lose belief in that, but there's really these two. One part, the energetics and the belief are going to tell you to trust the journey, that opportunities are going to appear, all of these higher vibration things. But your ego is going to be like, yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but. And it's this tug of war that will be playing out, which has been, I've been working on this tug of war and how to really move through it, because it's natural for your ego to be in that, to be like, yeah, but, because it doesn't understand, it can't see that money can generally just appear without you doing very much for it. The energetics, like you're going to be in it and there'll be a part of you that's in that, but then momentarily you're going to be like, oh, because the problem with that is you can't force the timeline on it, and you've really got to trust and be patient, which is what I think if I could pinpoint a word that's been fed to me more on this journey, it is patient. And I say that because it has been so irritating to me. But the funny thing is I understand it now. Really, why is money so important? It's the single biggest factor as to why people won't even take the leap. That's the reality. And there's many different facets as to why that's playing out, but it is one of the biggest factors why people just won't even do it. Some doubts that will come in that is they're scared to start again. They don't know if it will work. They've got responsibilities, bills. We've also been conditioned into certain ways to earn money. And if we're thinking about something that goes outside of it, it's like, is that even possible? Do I even have the power to do that? Can I do that? All of these doubts are going to start to come up, and we're really working into survival here, which is why this is a heavy one, because it's right at the root of it all. If we don't have this sorted, it's just going to overwhelm our focus and our energy. When we don't have survival needs met, we can't think about anything else but getting them met, which is why you don't see many homeless people getting out of their situations, because they're forever in the survival. And as I said, I nearly turned back around. I could leap because I didn't have any focus on money, and money only became a thing when I didn't have any. I nearly turned around from that because the fear was overwhelming, but I didn't, because I knew at that point, as frustrated as I was, and as much as I was like, I don't want to do this, I knew that in order to conquer this journey of freedom, like being a free soul, you have to conquer this because it is the control mechanism. If you continue to have it control you, you are never going to be free. And the reality is, 10 years ago, this would have been even harder. Fast forward to today, you just got to open your frame into the possibilities of what's there. So, how do we get over it being such a block? Well, you've got to bring awareness to your money beliefs. It doesn't matter what they are, you need to know them. You need to understand what's actually going on there and do the healing work to understand it and be able to spot it before it puts you in situations that derail you. I have a shadow belief quiz, which is going to help you with this because your core shadow belief, whether it's something like I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not I don't have the power, scarcity, it's not available to me, or lack of safety as well. I've got the shadow belief quizzes around the 6 common ones. Frame that into money because that will be playing a part into it. Think of the greed profile and not enough ones probably going to be playing out here because it's just constant. Never enough, never got enough, never have enough. And this is this cycle here. You're going to get trapped in that and never really do what you truly love to do other than chase money and status. Worth and money go hand in hand. You're probably not going to be able to charge for your services or feel the value in what you do. And that's all intertwined. Powerless. You're probably just not going to leap at all because you're going to think, I do not have the power to make my own money. I do not have the power to take this path. All of these play in safety. If you are not safe in this world, it is absolutely going to be tied into money. I'm going to pop the link to that in the bottom of this video. And then I may even in a second video actually break down these beliefs and what's happening because this is very fresh for me in an exciting way because I've cracked some things. Now, how do we do this? Honestly, in any given moment, we have a choice. We can choose fear or we can choose love. Love is the expansive version of us that wants us to take this path. Love is the expansive version of us that wants us to conquer this resource that controls us. It's the part of us that wants us to take the leaps. It's the part that sings out to us like you're here for more. We need to strengthen and lean into that part of us, building our trust in this part of us, being able to receive, sit with this part, allow it to guide where we're going. Versus fear, which is where money blocks will be. It's not possible, I can't do this. And we do have a choice, and there's obviously work to do with this. Just an example of what it means to lean in last week. I felt my typical money block come up. It will get triggered every now and then, and I allow it to come up. I feel the fear come up. I'm like, okay, cool, we're here again. Not in a judgmental way. You're going to cycle through these periods where there was just like a temporary, like, okay, starting to feel a bit uncomfortable here. And I moved through my processes of working with the fear to really, really understand what's going on, what's the beliefs that are playing out, where am I making my choices? Because when I've gone deep into the fear, my focus is on the fear. It's not on the other side of me. I move through these processes and I get myself back into love, into the highest version, into the truth. Through that process, there is an energetic release or an opening, if you will. I think it was even Thursday. I woke up in that. I'm like, okay, went into the exercises, kind of sat with it, moved through a energetic flow exercise. Well, I saw a psychic reading pop up in my email. I was like, I need to join that. It was free. I joined it. I raised the question. She did a flow meditation, which was about really releasing the gates of flow. Literally 45 minutes after that, I had someone reach out for a contract. They wanted to do a trial for $2,000. I have never met them. They did not interview me. They were like, here's the money. It was signed in half an hour. That. And when I reflect on my journey since I left corporate, the only way money has come to me is through ways like that, not force. That every time I've pushed for it, it hasn't come. People reaching out to me for it, clients out of the blue popping back up, responding to certain things that aren't even about selling anything. I have had a $500 business contract turn into 16 grand, just like poof. None of that came through force or expecting or the ego trying to nut it out or work it out for me. It all just landed. Yes, there's actions that I've done for that, but it's not force. Funnily, they've all come through almost just when I've needed them, not when my ego's comfortable for it. Some of it's been uncomfortable, and as I say, patience, but it's all been when I've needed it. I am getting more and more at ease with this journey because I've got more and more trust. I've seen it occur. And every time these things occur, it happens when I've moved through and released the fear. I've allowed it to be there, I've seen it, and then I've moved through exercises to release it and to kind of be at bay. The feedback will be quite quick. There was even a time before that where I worked on it, and then literally 3 hours later, something appears. And it's really worked like that for me. This is where you kind of get to. It doesn't make it comfortable. I'm not saying this is comfortable. It's magic, but it's uncomfortable magic until I will reach a point where I'm just like, yeah, it happens every time. So we're just going to trust it. Hands in the air, let's go. And so when those things happen, when I'm in my egoic state or my fear, I still do struggle with it. Be in the energetics, trust. I'm like, yeah, but these are happening to me. So it actually does work that way. The more you see those things happen through doing the energetics, understanding your blocks, your beliefs, how they work, and learning how to work with fear, release it, allow it, and shift yourself back into trust. Poof. It's incredible, really, which is why I felt cool to do this video. I felt I'd wear red too, just because I want to cool them off. No, but seriously, I'm not going to be a person that talks about money. That's not what I want to do at all. Such a big block that you need to be able to look at and investigate if you're wanting to have a career or life path change, just period. Because I don't want it to block you. Just know that it is one of the bigger blocks and challenges we're here to work through because it's at the crux of how humanity is controlled, like literally. If you want to start diving into what's actually going on, do the shadow belief work, do the quiz. There's a move through on that as well. Get a grip on it, get an understanding of it, because I don't want it to be your block or anyone's block. We've got to beat it. If we want to be free, this is where we've got to do the work. That's just the reality.